He has lost control of spending, which has doubled. The debt has doubled. Housing costs have doubled. Food bank use have doubled.
Bonjour tout le monde. I had a good call with Donald Trump last night again. We obviously talked about laying out the facts, talking about how the intense and effective connections between our two countries.
Justin Trudeau's government is crumbling faster than a house of cards in a windstorm. Cabinet members jumping ship, approval ratings in freefall, and a housing crisis spiraling out of control. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. Is Canada headed for an early election? The signs are everywhere, and the political bomb cyclone is about to hit. You won't believe what's coming next in this high-stakes political drama. Trudeau's government is facing a perfect storm of crises that's threatening to sink his political ship. The Liberal Party, once riding high on promises of change, now finds itself drowning in a sea of scandals and economic woes. Canadians are feeling the squeeze, with skyrocketing housing costs and inflation eating away at their hard-earned dollars. The Prime Minister's leadership is looking more chaotic by the day. Each new controversy chips away at the Liberals' credibility like relentless waves battering a foundering vessel. Trudeau's focus seems to be more on damage control than actually steering the country through troubled waters.
After 9 years of Trudeau, everything is broken. Everything is broken. Because he is a weak leader who has lost control.
Laying out the facts, moving forward in constructive ways. This is a relationship that we know takes a certain amount of working on, and that's what we'll do.
We have the worst housing inflation and the worst household debt of any G7 country.
It's a far cry from the sunny ways he promised when he first took office. Canadians are struggling to keep their heads above water in this economic tsunami. Families are being priced out of the housing market, forced to choose between putting food on the table or keeping a roof over their heads. Trudeau's economic policies have failed to provide relief, instead adding fuel to the inflationary fire. The cracks in Trudeau's cabinet are starting to show, with whispers of discontent growing louder. Insider reports suggest that 20 caucus members have signed a letter expressing their readiness to fire the Prime Minister. It's a clear sign that even within his own party, faith in Trudeau's leadership is sinking fast. The latest blow to Trudeau's floundering government came with Randy Boissonnault's resignation from the cabinet. While officially framed as a voluntary departure, many speculate it was a desperate attempt to bail water from the Liberals' leaking ship. Boissonnault's exit has only fueled public distrust, with many viewing it as another example of Trudeau's inability to lead effectively or handle accountability within his government. As Trudeau's approval ratings plummet to new depths, the opposition is circling like sharks smelling blood in the water. The Conservative surge is gaining momentum, with Pierre Poilievre emerging as a voice for frustrated Canadians. The political tides are shifting, and what once seemed like an unassailable Liberal majority now looks increasingly vulnerable. With each passing day, the calls for change grow louder. Canadians are ready for a new captain at the helm, someone who can navigate the stormy seas of economic uncertainty and restore faith in the country's leadership. As we sail into uncharted political waters, one thing is clear: Trudeau's ship is taking on water fast, and an early election might be the only lifeboat left.
He has lost control of spending, which has doubled. The debt has doubled. Housing costs have doubled. Food bank use have doubled.
We are on a clear path to reach 2% in the coming years because we know that the world is changing and Canada, along with our allies, needs to be ready for it.
That he will take away right before raising the carbon tax on heat, housing, groceries, and gas in just a few months.
While Trudeau struggles to keep his government afloat, a blue wave is building on the horizon. Pierre Poilievre's Conservative surge is gaining momentum faster than anyone expected. What's driving this seismic shift in Canadian politics? The reasons go far beyond simple dissatisfaction with the status quo. Poilievre, has positioned himself as the champion of everyday Canadians, tapping into a deep well of frustration over skyrocketing living costs and government accountability. His message is simple but powerful. Ottawa has failed you, and it's time for change. This resonates strongly with voters who feel crushed by inflation and priced out of the housing market. Unlike Trudeau's carefully crafted image, Poilievre comes across as direct and relatable. He's not afraid to call out what he sees as liberal failures, often using biting humor and sharp critiques that spread like wildfire on social media. While Trudeau is perceived as out of touch, Poilievre presents himself as the guy who understands your struggles because he's lived them too. Poilievre's attacks on Trudeau have been relentless and effective. He hammers home the point that liberal policies have worsened the affordability crisis. In one memorable exchange, Poilievre challenged Trudeau to name the price of a gallon of milk, highlighting the perceived disconnect between the Prime Minister and everyday Canadians. The Conservative strategy is paying off in the polls. Recent data show significant gains for the party, especially among demographics hit hardest by the economic crunch. Young families, seniors on fixed incomes, and working-class voters are increasingly seeing the Conservatives as their best hope for financial relief. As the possibility of an early election looms, political experts are starting to predict a potential Conservative victory. The momentum is clearly on Poilievre's side, with each new Liberal misstep seeming to strengthen his position. However, some analysts caution that Poilievre's approach of simplifying complex issues could backfire if he can't deliver on his promises. The stage is set for a high-stakes political showdown that will shape Canada's future. With Trudeau's government on the ropes and Poilievre's Conservatives surging, the coming months promise to be a roller coaster of political drama. The question on everyone's mind: will Canadians embrace Poilievre's vision of change, or will Trudeau find a way to weather this storm and hold on to power?
He has done this through a costly carbon tax that's driven up food prices 37% faster in Canada than in the United States of America.
Bonjour tout le monde. I had a good call with Donald Trump last night again. We obviously talked about laying out the facts, talking about how the intense and effective connections between our two countries.
Our GDP per capita is smaller than it was 10 years ago and has dropped more since before COVID than any other G7 country.
Canada's at a turning point, folks. An early election isn't just possible, it's practically guaranteed at this point. The coming months will decide the country's path for years. Will Trudeau somehow cling to power, or will Poilievre ride the blue wave to victory? It's anyone's guess, but one thing's for sure: the stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't just another boring political shuffle. We're talking about the future of our economy, our homes, and our way of life. The housing crisis, skyrocketing inflation, and government scandals, it's all coming to a head. And you better believe both sides are gearing up for the fight of their lives. So don't just sit back and watch. Stay informed, get involved, and make your voice heard, because when the dust settles, Canada will never be the same. The political storm of the century is brewing, and you won't want to miss a single explosive moment.